Hello and welcome to the I Am Evolution podcast. Spirit guide and soul sage Raina shares the knowledge of the universe to awaken and raise consciousness within. All of us have forgotten who we are and why we are here. But if we open our minds to new knowledge, we can use duality to achieve different perspectives to regain our unity. When we expand our awareness within, our possibilities become limitless. Let's begin to remember who we truly are and fulfill our mission and purpose to become conscious. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of I Am Evolution podcast. Oh my God, I almost said Transcendental Transformation. That was habit there. Anyways, I'm your host, Raina, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you are noticing, if you're here with us live, we are going about an hour, about 45 minutes early, and the reason why is because we have another pool tournament to go to tonight at, hold on, let me see if I can turn this down a little bit. The microphone seems to be going all haywire. So we have another pool tournament tonight, and we've been doing a lot of those. If you've been following my personal social media, then yes, absolutely. As you guys know, I used to be a softball player, and I did football, and then I got really ill. I still can't do any really physically heavy active sports like that yet. Not cleared yet. I'm getting healthier, but still. So I found pool, and I always used to think, I used to be a little bit of judgment of pool. I always thought, it was just something to play with when you went to the bar and everything. But honestly, I got to be honest with you, I've been finding I've been enjoying it very much lately. So I got my first 9-ball tournament win last Monday, so I'm all excited about that. And let's hope we can go far in this tournament tonight. So we're gonna keep this show tonight probably about a half hour. So I'm gonna go over as much as I can within this half-hour period, and then we are off to that tournament. So as always, guys, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, DLive, and the replay links are always in the Facebook events. So if you're not a part of our I Am Evolution podcast Facebook, please, please like and subscribe, and then you'll be able to get the events. Okay. So last we were talking about the Platonic Solids, and I'm going to continue talking about the Platonic Solids because the reason why is because you have to know these. I know it's cool to hear about aliens and all the extra stuff and that, but if you really want to advance your consciousness, if you really want to grow on your path towards, most people call it enlightenment or whatever, and I'm doing my air quotes because you guys know, but we really have to understand the fundamentals, and fundamentals are really important to understand with anything. If you want to be good at whatever you want to be good at as a professional, in your field, as an athlete, or whatever you're doing, you have to start with the basics, right? And this is no different. So as we were talking about last week, I was going over the triangle and the tetrahedron, and I was telling you that the Platonic Solids are the building blocks for the universe. These make up everything in the universe. Everything has a geometric pattern, a geometric shape to it, and they are all driven by the 5 Platonic Solids. And so the last time we left off, like I said, we were on the tetrahedron. Today we are going to talk about the hexahedron, which is also known as the cube. Remember, the cube is the 2-dimensional and the hexahedron is the 3-dimensional shape. So this is the shape that's associated with the earth element, and a lot of times it represents matter, because remember, the square, the cube, represents matter. So everything that is matter has a square basis to it. And the earth, like I was talking about last week about how my body has an earth body and my hand is square and everything like that. Well, that's because this element represents me. People who are earth, like Capricorns and Tauruses and Virgos and stuff, those people all have like square properties to them. They are part of the hexahedron type of makeup, and this is something that our body associates well. This is why people like us who are earth bodies are very, very good at physical labor. We're very good at the grind. We're tougher. Our bodies are tougher than a lot of other people. We can outlast people in a lot of things, like even in sports. When I used to play sports, football or softball, people would be sweating on the bench and be drinking their Gatorades and their fruit, and I'd still be going like, yeah, let's go. And when I used to work out at the gym all the time, like I would start out in my workout and I would build and get stronger and do more as the workout got. Most people would start out strong and then fade because they get tired. The square is a very solid shape. It is very strong. It represents solid energy. It is all about stability, grounding, and dependable. And if that sounds like Earth people, very much so. Why? Because remember that everything in the universe has a purpose, has a reason, and these Platonic solids make up everything, so we would be no different. And so a hexagon is a 6-faced side. And actually, let me put a hexagon up for you because I got my little, there we go. I got all my little, things up here and stuff like that. I figured I'd show you some pictures a little bit. And but this is the hexagon, and this is also known as a cube. And of course, the square comes from this as well. This is associated with the root chakra. And of course, as you know, because matter is, and the earth element is rooted in the root chakra, and it is the basic fundamental needs of everything. So this is the idea of where our grounding comes from. This is where our idea of reconnecting to nature, this is where all those ideas come from. And this is why that if you understand the way the chakras run, that you understand that the root chakra deals with what? Stability, right? The basic needs, your basic desires. People who are fearful of, like, they don't have enough money not to eat, they don't know day to day how their life is going to go. They fear life, they fear death, they fear all these different things. The basic fundamental things in life, these people have root chakra issues because the square in their body is not stable. It doesn't represent that. And so they need to learn to reconnect with this in order for us to understand that we're already meant to be stable. We're already meant this. And this is a progression through the idea of consciousness. As we understand that younger souls, that's why they attach themselves to these ideas of having a god or goddess as their ideology, angels, spirit guides doing everything, prayers, they chase money, they chase fame, they chase all these things. They have to look cool in front of people. And as you start to evolve, you start to realize, and as you start to build on the Platonic solids and you start to realize yourself inside these, you can use these shapes for the idea of stability. So grounding. So if you're having trouble grounding, some of the best ways to ground, besides just going to grab a tree or putting your feet on the ground and walking for that, but is using these. And I'm going to get to this in a minute. But there's a couple in like the Hindu tradition. The Sri Yantra is one of the things that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But that is based out of a square, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But remember that as we're connecting to nature, we want to work with that because matter, all of matter that deals with the square. This is the whole 369 concept. Remember, the third dimension is matter. It's very physical, and the square represents that as well. So in order for us to be creative, we have to be stable. So we have to understand that the hexahedron, the square, and that has to be stable in order for us to be able to contact and connect with the sixth dimension, and for us to be able to connect with the triangle, the tetrahedron. Because remember, the third dimension is represented by the square, which is matter, the sixth dimension, which is represented by the mind, which is the triangle, and the circle is represented by the spirit, and that's the ninth dimension as well. So we have to understand the concept and the connection between that. And I spoke about that a little bit with Nikola Tesla, in his 369. He understood that there was some connection to it, but he didn't understand that the difference, the connection fully. And he was definitely way ahead of his time, and definitely set groundwork for a lot of people to understand what we know now today. But this is something that it has to be involved through us. The square also represents orientation and direction, and that it could, like I said, it's a very dependable, solid type of idea. So when we're together, when we're feeling it, we have that earth metal to us. That's why connecting to the earth makes us feel stable. A lot of people say, oh, well, I'm going to get get grounded so I don't fly up and my energy just doesn't fly all over the place. But they don't understand what is actually going on. And so this type of idea allows our energy to balance back down and to settle down, to come to solidarity, so it becomes more stable and it becomes more fluid, so that we can refocus. And that's what's really going on with a lot of that and that. So it is also associated with the number 4. Many cultures in the world associate it with the number 4, the very materialistic world, 4 seasons, 4 directions, 4 elements, etc. And this idea allows us, remember that everything is a pattern. There's nothing that is happening by mistake. And so when you start to look at patterns, you're going to see, well, oh yeah, there is 4 seasons, there is 4 directions, there are 4 elements. And that's one of the reasons why I want to, in a second, I'm going to show you the Sri Yantra, is because this explains in the Hindu traditions. But the matter also, but the hexahedron over here also represents things like solid, liquid, gaseous, things like that. And so everything has its place. Remember, the Platonic Solids represent something in each of the states of being. So when we look at things, whether we're scientific or we're materialistic or whatever it is, and that even spiritual, conscious, whatever you want to call it and stuff, everything has a purpose. And once you understand, okay, well, I can access this through this. There was someone, actually, this brings up a good point. I was looking on social media today. I was just scrolling through as I was practicing for pool. And I saw someone said, how can I calm my mind down really quickly? And a lot of people were laughing and stuff like that. But this brings up a good point, because we don't understand. We hear, well, we need to meditate. We hear we have to calm the mind. We hear we have to do these things, but we don't understand why we're doing. Okay, well, yeah, meditation helps us clear our mind. It helps us connect to ourselves, etc. But it also helps us ground us, because remember like I said, the square, the hexahedron, is a very solid state of matter, and it allows us to connect to the earth and connect to the physical realm of understanding of why we're here. And when that brings us down, that's why we can't be floating up in air all the time. We can't be such high vibration. Everyone talks about being a high vibration all the time, and this is not good for us. And the reason why I say that is because, remember, everything has to be rhythm. Everything has to go up and down nice and smooth. If you're up all the time, I mean, that's like, I mean, we have, day to night, we have, being awake to sleep. We have masculine to feminine. We have all these balances. And in order for us to understand that, our energy has to go up. So sometimes we have to be high vibration, and sometimes we have to be low vibration. And we have to ride that vibrational rhythm just like we do and the square and the hexahedron help us do this. So I'm going to bring up the Sri Yantra, and okay, this Sri Yantra, I always want to say Yanta for some reason. The R doesn't roll with me. So the Sri Yantra, and that is part of the Hindu tradition. And I love this. I mean, just look at it. It's an amazing symbol. And the Sri means like auspicious and holy. And the Yantra is like the instrument of like releasing bondage. And so it really means like the holy instrument of releasing bondage. And so what does that mean to us? First of all, if you look at it, this is a square, right? You could see the square and that positioned, and you see 4 sides of it, and you also see that there's 4 directions to it as well. You also, if you look at it closely, you also see a bunch of triangles in it, and we're going to get to those in a minute. But what this represents in the Hindu tradition is they understood in the middle you see one triangle, which is a point, and that center is called Bindu, and Bindu is the understanding of like where creation began. And so they understood, just like a lot of conscious and a lot of spiritual things, they understand that everything began as one, which is what we did. Who am I and what can I be? And at that point, that's all of a sudden when we decide to create the second dimension, the third dimension, asking ourselves, well, who can I be? What can I be? What can I do? What are the possibilities that I can? And thus, this is the representation of the creation. So this mantra or this idea, this tool is used in the Hindu tradition. It is the square. It also has triangles in it and everything, because remember the 369, and it helps. It's the instrument of releasing us from our bondage. What does bondage mean? That doesn't mean we're all tied up, as fun as that sounds, right? It doesn't mean that we're actually all tied up. What that means is that our bondage to this idea, because a lot of us think that we need to escape from the matrix. We're always like, oh, we have to escape from this matrix. Life here is hell. It's terrible to come here. The whole goal is to get away from it. No, that's not true, because we are the matrix. We are this. Our goal is to realize who we are, but the bondage of our mind, the bondage of our emotions, how we create the chaos, how we create judgment and anger and pain and suffering, and we rely on these ideas of gods and goddesses and angels and spirit guides that do everything for us, and we just become helpless. That's the true bondage. And as we evolve, we start to understand consciousness. Oh my God, I am this idea we call God. I am this idea we call source and universe. And you know what? I don't need angels and spirit guides to do it for me, because I have the power to do it all. And this is what's so fascinating about the Sri Yantra, is because the Sri Yantra is the instrument in the Hindu tradition of releasing bondage. It represents the flow of energy. And again, look, 4 sides. Each of those little marks down there represents a direction, right? Because that's what, north, south, east, and west, masculine, feminine. And that's what's great about this, is because for trying, if you look in the middle, you're going to see that. And if you go on internet, not now obviously, but go on the internet, look this up, and when you enlarge this picture, you're going to see, and I'm looking at it because I'm trying to see what I'm pointing at, but if you look in the middle, you're going to see 4 triangles pointing up. And what's nice about this is that represents the masculine energy, and then the Hindu tradition, that represents the god Shiva. When you also look at, you see 5 triangles pointing down. That represents the feminine energy, and I believe it represents the goddess Shaktati or something like that, or I think it's Shakti, I think it is, and that represents that goddess. And so the idea of masculine and feminine energy, remember, and that the idea of heaven and earth, so to speak, and the connection of wholeness and the balance between, plus the 4 directions, the stability, all of this represents. It also has a huge representation of the divine feminine as well. One of the things that when we're growing in consciousness, we have to learn to understand is that as when we're unevolved, we judge things as, well, men or masculinity is stronger physically, so it's better, and women, or women are better at one thing, and we go back and forth. We have this fighting between masculine and feminine energy because our species is not evolved. But if you look at every symbol and you look at people that are conscious, they understand that every person in the world, whether you're a man or woman, has both masculine and feminine energies. You have all directions in you. You have every part of every 5 Platonic solids in you. Nothing is better or worse than the other person, and that's why those are one of my no-nos, because it doesn't exist. And so this idea right here, and that tells you that this is, in order for you to be whole, in order for you to be godlike, and I'm doing my quotes again, but in order for you to do that you have to encompass all of it, the masculine and the feminine energy, and you have to be able to understand that all of it is empowerment, and all of it is the creation that is. And that's why it has the circle, it has the triangles, it has the squares, etc., and that it represents all that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to show you this one, because I just find the Sri Yantra just fascinating. It really does. I just love that. The next one we're going to talk about, and probably this is going to be the last one we're going to talk about today. Oops, hold on one second. Okay, let me see. Is that the one I want? Yeah, okay. So the next one is the octahedron, right? And the octahedron is obviously oct means 8, right? It means 8 faces and stuff, 8 equilateral triangles, right? And so if I bring up this, there's 2 types of octahedrons. Most people aren't familiar with this one. It's 2 basically tetrahedrons upside down. And if I bring back my old pictures of Platonic, nope, not that's Metatron's cube. I don't have my glasses on. I'm trying to see that. Okay. And then you see this one that has the octahedron, right? This represents what? Air, right? It has 8 faces, 6 points, right? And all equilateral triangles, and it has the degrees of 60, right? Which total 1440, right? And so I'm going to bring up actually, I'll just leave this one up. Why it might as well. And this is, like I said, associated with air. This is the signs that go under this are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. They are connected to the heart chakra. So as we're going to talk about this in a minute, why it's connected to the heart chakra, but this has to deal with, its primary function has to deal with integration. Remember, the heart chakra is part of the portal. It's the part of the heart portal. And in order for us to come to this idea of love and understanding, we have to be able to function through integration. And integration means that we have to be able to take who we are and integrate our experiences into our consciousness and grow through it. Unfortunately, most of us play victim to our experiences and we hold on to our belief systems. We're unwilling to hear something new, especially if we already think we know it all, or we think that we know somebody and someone's trying to tell us something new. This is the number one killer to this type of idea, especially dealing with the heart chakra and the octahedron. Because remember, what is air? Air flows, right? Air moves, right? And air kind of pushes its way through anything. Sure, it bounces off things like buildings and trees, but it keeps flowing, right? And this is the representation of integration as well. The heart chakra, in order for us to love unconditionally and compassionately and grow, we have to let the heart chakra move. When we become anger, what happens? That energy, right? We feel it here. It kind of shuts itself down. It stops it from flowing. And then we become angry. And over time, we can have heart attacks, disease, all sorts of anything. This, like with all heart chakras, the octahedron helps us with the integration of understanding. It helps us with the integration of healing and acceptance. We have to learn to accept things for what they are. We have to learn to have compassion for ourselves and others in order for us to grow. And this is why I find sacred geometry such as the Platonic Solids so fascinating. And even though this is the very fundamental basics of everything, you have to know it, because if you want to know the bigger stuff, and we'll get to the bigger stuff on another day, but if you want to know the bigger stuff, you got to know the very basics of what's really going on. Because you can understand that a car drives, yeah, sure, a car drives, but once it breaks down, can you fix it? No, right? You understand it has an engine, it has gas, it has oil, it has transmission fluid, but you don't know how to diagnose. A lot of people don't know how to diagnose it who haven't gone to mechanic school or haven't gone to, or sorry, automotive school, I should say, haven't been in a mechanics, they don't have mechanics. So you may have a concept, okay, well, this is, meditation is for this. Okay, mantras do this, but why? How can I empower myself to become stronger? Well, I can use the Platonic Solids, understanding that, okay, if I'm having heart chakra, blockages, well, I need to go to the octahedron. I need to let things flow more. What am I not integrating in my life? What am I not accepting? What am I refusing to heal? Am I not being as compassionate as I should be? And these type of ideas, once we understand that, we can speed up the healing. Things can go faster because we can implement. Sometimes when I meditate, I'll see the Platonic Solids pop up in my body, or I'll see them hit me. They'll start out and they'll go one after another, and then all of a sudden they'll form into what we'll talk about the Metatron's cube. We'll talk about that another day because we only have a few minutes left. I'm stopping at 30 minutes because of the time today. But these ideas are something that we have to learn to understand. And remember, with the heart chakra, the octahedron, it is all about self-reflection. This is why the fifth dimension is, when we're talking about going to the fifth dimension and 5D world, and a lot of people are talking about this, and that one of the things they're missing is that the fifth dimension, the octahedron, is all about self-reflection. In order for us to grow as masters, guides, whatever you want to call, avatars, whatever you want to say. I don't like any of those labels, but when we start becoming in the fifth dimension, we must see ourselves for who we are and what we're doing. And if we can't open up the heart chakra and allow things to flow, we can't, if we don't want to listen to everybody, if we're going to laugh at somebody for asking a question because maybe they're just a younger soul and they don't know any better, or making a statement. People say things to me all the time that I know that aren't true, and that's okay. There's no sense in putting them down, because we have to understand that we all have some type of blanket over our eyes, where yes, we may understand the stuff that we know, and some of it may be true, some of it may not, but there's a lot out there that we don't know and we can't learn. So we're in the same, even though we may seem like we're more knowing than other people, that's judgment. That's what younger souls do. As we grow, we start to accept things. We start to see ourselves, and we start to reflect and say, you know what, I'm going to be compassionate to these people and this person and that, no matter what they say, and I'm going to allow them to have their belief systems or whatever, because that's where they need to be. And that in itself raises the vibration that allows the octahedron to open up and really move itself and express our creativity, because we try to think of creativity as coming from the throat chakra and the third eye and the mind, and it does, but remember, as I told you in past shows, the heart is the fuel for everything. You can create, you could sit there and picture things, but if you don't have any fuel for the fire, it's not going to do that. So expressing it helps us express ourselves. It helps us grow and create a stronger connection to both our inner self and the outer self and the outer world around us. If we're not connected, if we feel disconnected to ourselves, well, that's because our heart chakra is probably closed, and the octahedron, that type of platonic solid inside of us and stuff, is probably not moving like it should. And I don't mean they're spinning around. I'll get into all that stuff later. But one of the dreams, I had a dream last night, and this is kind of, and I'm going to tell you this because this kind of plays into this. Last night I had a dream that I was in high school again, and I was graduating. I was a senior, and I was graduating. I was back in my old high school, and I was going to say goodbye to everybody, and especially my teachers and some people, and I was clearing out my locker, and it was really weird because it was the old high school, but with the new additions, because I've been to Chicago back a few times, and I've gone to visit, and they've added new additions, and that was in there, and I was crying throughout the whole thing. I was so sad and that I was leaving and stuff. And it was funny because when I was in high school, I couldn't wait to get out. I was like, bam, as soon as those doors opened, man, I was gone. I didn't say bye to anybody. I was like, later, because in my physical reality, I had a lot of terrible experiences in high school. Other than my sports, I was constantly bullied. I was constantly picked on. I had teachers telling me I was a loser, that I was never going to amount to anything. It was, I spent, a year of my high school years just completely on drugs and suicide. I just didn't care about myself or my grades, nothing. I mean, high school to me wasn't a good time. And so I allowed that. And so through this jump, and that when I dreamt, I know that octahedron opened up and said, okay, we need to deal with this. And so me experiencing that, me going through that, allowed myself to realize that I did, I left because of pain and suffering. But there's a part of me that really needed to let go of that and really needed to make peace with that. And in my dream, by going into high school and being sad and crying that I was leaving, and saying thank you to the teachers that were really on my side and helping me, and saying goodbye to some of the people that I was friends with and stuff, allowed closure. And this morning I woke up and I was kind of like a complete klutz, and I was choking on my mouthwash and everything. I was like, okay, because sometimes that happens because your body's trying to rebalance itself from the experience that it just had. But I sat there and I started crying, and while I was brushing my teeth, and that allows the balance, that allows that connection to be stronger, because we have to heal in order for us to be able to grow. And so, as you have to remember, the octahedron represents, like with all things, you talk about a lot of religions, a lot of spiritualities, as above, so below, as within, so without, etc. That's that concept, and that represents the octahedron. So, all right, guys, it's 29 minutes. I got it. We're going to be good. 30 minutes and we're out. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to finish probably in a couple weeks with this because we're going to do a show in between this just to kind of break it up. But we're going to finish with the Platonic Solids, and then we're going to go to some of the bigger, more cooler type of patterns and everything like that. But we'll just follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/I Am Evolution Podcast. Our YouTube is YouTube at youtube.com at I Am Evolution. Our TikTok is I Am Evolution 33. I should know all of this by now. Our website is soulandspiritguide.com. Visit us and make sure you sign up for our newsletter, because if you do, you're going to hear about recent events, receive VIP access to hidden shows like sessions, and special guest offers when we have some guests. If you have any comments or questions, please email us at iamevolution33@gmail.com. Guys, if you found this show useful or you found it, please share it. The only way we're going to help each other and grow consciousness of this world is by sharing and helping. And I would greatly appreciate it if you share this show as well. Always remember to believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities, our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.